Hello, everybody. This is Chris Carter from the Bankhead Theater, and I'm here today with Carlos Moreno from Ballet Folklorico Mexicano de Carlos Moreno. The dance company will be here on October 30th at 3 p.m. for a Dìa de Los Muertos performance. And you can go online and find tickets for that show. Those are selling fast. It's at livermorearts.org. We're doing a series of interviews with the performers that are coming to the Bankhead Theater for our Bankhead Presents season, our 22-23 season, and we're so happy to have Carlos here.
Sí, buenas tardes a todos. Soy Carlos Moreno del Ballet Folklorico Mexicano y quiero invitarlos a nuestra producción de Día de Muertos en el Bankhead Theater en Livermore el día 30 de octubre. A favor de estar con nosotros para celebrar lo bonito que es esta celebración de Día de Muertos. So you guys keeping busy?
Yeah, we are. What about you? Are you getting ready? You got a lot of stuff coming up, I see.
Yeah. No, we all of a sudden we got busy. It's like we came out of this pandemic and we got to be raring to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, we all have those challenges during the year that we were shut down and so forth. But looks like everyone is kind of ready.
Good. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Survive. That's the thing about the arts. I mean, people are it's challenging. We do it with passion, so we find a way to keep it going.
Yeah, well, Carlos, I know that your name is in the company, but it's really your father that founded this company. Is that correct?
That is correct. Actually, back in 1967, we're celebrating our 55th anniversary.
55 years.
Yeah, and what we're really excited about going to the Bankhead in Livermore is that the company was actually founded in Livermore. My father resided there back in the 60s, and he started with a small group of about 12 teenage students. Their parents wanted them to learn about culture, and it just kind of took off from there.
And the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history. Well, a little bit of work.
Well, tell me a little bit more about his roots. So he's not originally from Livermore, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. He is from northern Mexico, from the state of Durango. But he grew up as a young boy with a lot of passion for music and the theater and the arts. He did a lot of that on his own. My grandparents, his parents were farmers in a small town in Durango, but he was just really inspired and driven by music and dancing. So he kind of was always involved in his school and doing those type of things with or without his parents' permission. Sometimes he stayed there late when he should have been back home helping out with the work, but there he was doing the arts.
And so as a parent or growing up in an arts family with this dance company always there around you, at what age were you involved pretty much your whole life? Did you leave and come back, or what's your history?
Oh, no, yeah, I was definitely involved. I think it was one of those things that I didn't know any better. I mean, it's just around me all the time. I think I first stepped onto the stage when I was about 3 years old. I know that because I have my little certificate from the Alameda County Fair. And
in Pleasanton.
But yeah, no, it's funny looking back. As growing up during the summer times, my dad would take trips to Mexico to study, to do researching, and he would take us along. And so we traveled throughout the country, and I didn't realize at the time that I was actually being educated, that I learned so much about the traditions of the music and the dance of Mexico. But now, obviously, in hindsight, it was like, wow. I mean, that was just so amazing that I got the opportunity to do that.
Well, can you give us a little bit of a history lesson in this style of dance and where it kind of came from? And I know there's regionally there's a lot of different variations, but kind of what's kind of the traditional story of how it came to be?
Well, the Ballet Folklorico has evolved in so many directions. The traditions of the music and dance and all this, especially in all the small towns and villages, has gone on for centuries, and it is still pretty traditional. The smaller towns to have the center square, and people congregate there, especially on Sundays. Musicians are there, and then people just start dancing in the plaza, and that's how many of the traditional dances have been kept going from generation to generation. And but in the around the 1950s, the National Ballet Folklorico, the Amalia Hernandez was founded. So that really kind of brought national and international attention to the dance form. And it's kind of taken off since then, where we have formal dance schools throughout Mexico and at this point throughout the world. And my father was one of the pioneers in starting his dance school here in California.
And you have been all over the world, is that right, with your dance company?
Our dance company has had great opportunities to travel, mostly extensively in the United States and in Mexico, but we have had the opportunity to get out. We have nationally, I mean, just a couple of weeks from now, actually, I think it's less than 2 weeks, we're going to be traveling to Hawaii, and we're going to do a couple of performances there. And next year, we have plans to head out to France and Paris and get some opportunity to share our culture there. So it's very exciting. Keeps us motivated.
That's great. If thinking about kind of the history of the dance company, is there any particular performance or place that you all performed that was pretty significant for you or for your father?
I think definitely for my father and the history of the ballet, about 10 years into the school back in 1977 is when he got first international attention performing for an international variety show in Mexico called Siempre en Domingo. And that was huge because anyone in the Spanish speaking language would watch this show every Sunday. So we got a lot of exposure, and just the opportunity to get there was amazing. And I was a young boy at the time, but I recall that.
Oh, that's
exciting
fun.
time. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Bankhead performance coming up a little bit. My understanding, I asked you a little bit earlier about kind of talking about different regions that are represented, and can you kind of tell, are there different styles within different regions?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mexico is a very large country and very diverse. What we are presenting at the Bankhead is a Day of the Dead theme presentation. And it's in 2 acts. And the first act kind of delves more into the traditional history of Day of the Dead. And within that history, there are 3 major areas that are populated by different indigenous groups. We represent that in our presentation, showing dances from the Huasteca region, from Oaxaca, and from Michoacan. And definitely the style of the music is different. You'll see in the clothing that they wear. And within this, the style of dances, I think people will really be kind of interested. And we talk about the different aspects of the Day of the Dead and the traditions, including the use of the marigold flowers, the arches, and the altars that are created, and delve into why people color their faces as skeletons and things like that. So it's entertaining and educating at the same time.
Do you have like multiple choreographers for the different types of the dance, or is it one choreographer that's kind of coordinating everything, or how do you all do that behind the scenes?
Yeah, so I am the primary choreographer, but I'm blessed that I have a lot of talent around me, including my wife, Lisa, who also helps choreograph. So we take a lot of the traditional dances, and of course, we have to adapt them for the stage. And we're careful, try to respect the origins of the dance. But again, add elements to it to be able to tell the story, and for especially people who are not from Mexico, really connect and understand the performance that we're doing.
And then does someone design all the costumes too for within your troupe, or how does that work with your?
Yeah, again, we're all involved. My father, who's in his 80s now, he's still very much motivated and involved in a lot of the costume design. Through the history of the ballet, my mother is actually a seamstress, and she created most of the costumes that we have.
Okay.
And of course, we do have a lot of the costumes that come from Mexico that are very specific to certain regions. Use a lot of embroidery, so those we bring in from Mexico.
Okay, I have to tell you, I did meet your father. He came to a performance here last year.
Yes,
I think it was Noche Buena. It might have been that, or maybe another one. And he introduced himself. He found me and he introduced himself, and he said, "We have to come perform at the Bankhead." And I think you've been here
he's great at
before.
that.
Yeah, no, good for him. That's
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes people ask me, how do we get the performers here? How do we find them? And sometimes they find us. And
Yeah, my father is amazing. You know, like I mentioned about that first international performance. He'll find himself to the backstage of any place and mingling with all the famous artists, singers, movie stars, and all that. He's just great at that. He's very charming and social in that way. As opposed to myself, I'm happy just kind of staying in the dance room and being creative and so forth. Yeah, 20 years ago, for me to be able to be talking to you on a podcast or a radio type thing I would be really stressed. But
oh, well,
I've
you're
learned to
doing a
do
good
it.
job. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
But no, you'll have to keep going, and maybe next time you're at a performance here, introduce yourself, and or anywhere you go. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
you'll have to follow in his footsteps and help continue to
for
promote
sure.
that. So for audiences that are not as familiar with the story of Dia de los Muertos and some of the tradition around that, can you give us some background?
Sure, absolutely. Well, the Dia de los Muertos specifically is on the 2nd of November in Mexico. It's celebrated, and typically it's celebrated in cemeteries in Mexico, but there are a few days leading up to it, such as the day before Dia de los Muertos is called Dia de los Inocentes, the Day of the Innocents. That day usually pays tribute to children who have passed on. Now, the Dia de Muertos celebration is really a happy celebration, a celebration more of a memorial of people who have passed on. So people gather and they bring food and drink, music, and there's dancing and so forth. It's believed that during this day, the spirits come out and everyone's able to enjoy the time together one time out of the year. And this Day of the Dead is really a combination of both the traditions and beliefs of the indigenous Aztec people, and then also of the Spanish that brought Christianity into it. They kind of integrated their All Saints Day and the beliefs that they have in their religion.
And so it's I like how you say it's uplifting, and it's supposed to be a happy occasion. So that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, it's interesting because you know you find that balance of being respectful and honoring the traditions that have been passed on from generations to generations. But at the same time, it's evolving. But the beautiful thing about it is that it really incorporates many generations where the children and adolescents could come together with the adults, grandparents, and so forth, and learn about their ancestors and have a good time doing it.
Yeah. Did you find after that movie Coco came out did you feel like that it helped introduce it to a lot of people?
Oh,
Tradition?
absolutely. And I must say, like, I think most people I've talked to, they did an amazing job to
Yeah.
really touch on a lot of the traditions of it. They're very respectful when they created that movie. So, I mean, the only thing right now kind of concerns me sometimes is a little bit of the commercialization of
Yeah.
Dia de los Muertos, you know, kind of like Christmas has kind of evolved and it's really become real commercial. So we try to kind of keep it grounded a little bit more and hope that people could always understand and appreciate the basis and the foundation of what is Dia de Muertos.
Well, thank you for keeping that going. My last question I wanted to ask you was, we've had Ballet Folklorico performances here in the past, and they're always so popular.
Yeah.
And it's been around, you know, like your company's been here for 55 years. What is it about it that keeps it so popular and that keeps people coming back? And it really continues to get stronger over the years, it seems.
Yeah. Well, you know, a few things, and I've kind of, you know, I've been around a while, so I've gone through the evolution of both from the inside and the outside perception of folklorico. I know that you know, initially many years ago, we really kind of struggled to take the dance form of Mexico as a respectable dance form and discipline. You know, I remember many years ago, people would just say, "Oh yeah, you're just you're just the guys hopping around the hat." It's like, well, it's a little bit more than that. But I think a part of it too, besides that, kind of really bringing it into as a discipline. I think the big part of it, and this is what I try to tell our dancers, is you got to go out there and you have to interact with each other. You have to have fun. Like these dances, most of them were created based on social dances and people interacting. So the interaction between the dancers, I think, is one of the key things that the audiences notice. When the dancers are dancing with each other, enjoying themselves, the audience feels it, and it keeps them wanting more.
Yeah, and you have to be in really good shape to do it, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things about what we do here, again, it's Mexican folklore, and the word folklore refers to the people, it's the traditions of the people. So unlike maybe other dance forms where there's a specific body type or image, here in our folklore, we take all ages, all body types, short, tall, or what have it, because then that way it really represents the people as a mass. So going back to the original statement, though, some people are in a little bit better shape than others. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really helpful for me, and I hope as people watch this, that gets them more excited about the performance coming up. So, anything else you want to say as far as what we should be expecting on that date?
Well, just really come to relax and have a good time, but understand that it's an entertaining show, but at the same time, there's lots of information that'll be, I think, very educational. And we've been actually doing this Dìa de los Muertos production. We relatively new for us. We started about 10 years ago. And it's just become more and more popular, and people really just have a lot of positive commentary about it. So yeah, please come enjoy the show. It's for everyone.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Once again, it's coming up on October 30th at the Bankhead Theater in downtown Livermore, and it's Ballet Folklorico Mexicano de Carlos Moreno.
It's a long one.
I know. Sorry, I had to look down just for a second to make sure I had it right. And it's a Dìa de Los Muertos performance. It's going to be a wonderful night. It's a great stage. It's a wonderful stage for dance, especially. So we're so happy to have you coming, and we're really looking forward to it. You can find tickets online at livermorearts.org, and come and get them. It's going to be great. They're selling fast, so it's going to be a wonderful evening. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Chris.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.